Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise tonight, just want to shout out to one of my fans out there watching from our riding, a young girl named Madison. So just want to say hi and thanks for watching tonight. I just wanted to talk about a couple of issues I have with cannabis. And we've heard the talk from the opposite side, the government side, why legalization is supposed to reduce all harm to kids and supposed to make the problems all go away. Well, there's a reason why the cannabis is illegal. I'm speaking to the opposite member, through the Speaker. There's a reason why it's illegal, Madam Speaker, and that's because it's not good for you. It's clearly shown. I have a couple of articles on my iPad right now, even just talking about the health effects, the negative health effects to our lungs. But I want to just dispute two facts that are supposedly being put on the table here tonight by the government, and two real basic ones. First, the government says they want to protect our youth, and the second, they say they want to promote public health with legalization of cannabis. So I'm going to just talk about the youth. And part of the bill that's a big problem that when we saw it when it first came out on the Friday that they tabled it, huge thing that just was glaring to some of us on this side, is they talk about this is a distribution, this is from the actual act that the government is bringing forward, and they say that they want to keep marijuana out of the hands of the kids. And I guess I would dispute that based on what the law says is what they're putting forward. Now, it does say they want to prohibit it to anybody under the age of 18. But certainly we know that kids are going to get a hold of this. That's kids defined as anybody under 18. And guess what the penalty is if kids deal 5 grams or under to other kids? Guess what the penalty is, Madam Speaker? 0. So I'll read it out just for everybody out there watching tonight and Madison that's listening too. The distribution clause is prohibited, authorized under this act, it is prohibited for a young person to distribute cannabis of one or more classes of cannabis, the total amount of which is equivalent as determined in accordance with Schedule 3 to no more than 5 grams of cannabis. Well, what that says, Madam Speaker, in a kind of a sneaky way, it says that's prohibited above 5 grams, but it's completely okay to distribute 5 grams or less. And we've heard from other members from our party tonight that have said 5 grams can be as high as 15 joints of marijuana. So I just have this vision of kids selling marijuana to other kids, and this government saying they're trying to protect our kids when the act says completely the opposite. They say they're not going to do absolutely anything about kids selling marijuana to other kids. And to me, it's blatant that the health of our kids is not being considered with what they're saying here. And if they really care about our kids, I think they would toughen up the regulations and the laws that they're putting forward on kids selling, possession and distribution of marijuana. This isn't just having one joint, even though that's still going to be harmful, potentially. But we're talking about 15 joints, Madam Speaker, that they're going to be allowed to distribute amongst themselves legally with no threat of any kind of prosecution or ticket or offense or anything. And to me, I have 4 kids of my own, Madam Speaker, and I think one concern that I have, as soon as this is deemed legal and legalized, is it makes it sound like it's government's giving it our blessing that it's okay to do. And I want to start talk a little bit more about what I mentioned about the second fallacy, I would say, of the government saying that they want to protect the health of Canada and Canadians. Because I have an article right here. It's by a pretty reputable association. It's called the American Lung Association. And this was one of the many reasons we listed when we were in government why we didn't want to legalize cannabis. I'll talk about what it says about marijuana and what it thinks about, the American Lung Association thinks about marijuana. The American Lung Association is concerned about the health impacts of marijuana use, especially on lung health. We caution the public against smoking marijuana because of the risks it poses to lung health. Scientists are researching marijuana, and the American Lung Association encourages continued research into the health effects of marijuana use, especially on lung health. I'll go down to where it talks about marijuana smoke. Smoke is harmful to lung health, period. Whether from burning wood, tobacco, or marijuana, toxins, carcinogens are released from the combustion of materials. Smoke from marijuana combustion has been shown to contain many of the same toxins, irritants, and carcinogens as tobacco smoke. So on the one hand, we have great programs in this country where we've seen tobacco use reduced, where we have these great efforts by Health Canada to make sure that we do our best to not market cigarettes to kids. For that matter, to adults, we have packages that are negatively marketed to adults with pictures of bad teeth, etc., bad lungs. And on the same hand, we're saying on current today of 2017, we're saying, well, it's really bad to smoke cigarettes, but it's okay to smoke marijuana, just because you're an adult. And to me, it's absolutely ridiculous. So when I hear the government side, across the way, and I hear some heckling over there because maybe they haven't considered the health effects of marijuana on our lungs, youth and adults included, I think they need to look at reputable associations like the American Lung Association that say that very fact. So to stand in this place and say that they're concerned about our health is hogwash. They need to actually do some studying and research themselves about the negative health effects that marijuana has on our bodies in Canada. So, we hear it across the way that they care about our youth, and we hear them stand up with some feigned indignation that they care about their kids. I trust they do. I absolutely trust they do care about their kids, but in this instance, they really need to take a second look about what they're saying and what they're promoting in this legislation. Because I'm sure that some of the members across the way, they're supporting it because they think that the biggest problem with marijuana is the charges that come from it, using it illegally. Well, the reason why there's charges there in the first place, Madam Speaker, is because, again, is what I started with, it's bad for you. It's bad for you on many levels, lung, mental health, a bunch of different health issues that we have and we have concerns about that are proven to be health effects, negative health effects from marijuana use. So again, Madam Speaker, I'd really like to challenge the government side, if they're really serious about health and about keeping these drugs out of the hands of kids, to change this legislation to deal with it that way so it makes it more difficult for our kids to distribute marijuana. And I hear the member across the way, and I respect the member because we're on committee together, but I just wanted, maybe he needs to hear this again, Madam Speaker, about what the legislation that his government's putting in about the lack of penalty, the lack of recourse, I guess, for kids, that's anybody under 18, distributing marijuana, 15 joints, to each other. And if that member across the way and the government across the way is really concerned about our kids, they would have a provision in here where there would be some recourse. There is not. And I challenge the member across the way and the government across the way that if, again, they really care about youth and young people using marijuana and using it, again, as I would say, in a danger to their health, whether it's to their lung health or whether it's to their mental health, I think they need to make it much more difficult for youth to distribute to each other and to actually use. And again, I think it's one thing to talk a game about health, and it sounds great for the cameras, it sounds great for the TV land out there, but when you get into the details of what this legislation is actually saying, I think Canadians across this country really have a lot to be concerned about. And, I would ask if the members across the way one simple question, and I guess I can ask it after I sit down, do they think using cannabis is healthy? And it's a simple question for me, and I just would like to have them answer that. And maybe when some of them get up to ask me questions, they can provide me with that answer. Because if they can't say in the affirmative that it's healthy, why are they marketing, why are they saying tonight they're concerned about Canadians' health when they want to legalize it? Thank you, Madam Speaker.